5 years ago in September of 2020, we had this being announced between Trump and Netanyahu. Check it out.
To discussing this in detail with you, Mr. President, because I think that if we work together, we have a shot.
And we have been discussing that, and it is something that is very different, hasn't been discussed before, and it's actually a much bigger deal, a much more important deal in a sense. It would take in many, many countries, and it would cover a very large territory. So I didn't know you were going to be mentioning that, but that's now that you did, I think it's a terrific thing. And I think we have some pretty good cooperation from people that in the past would never, ever have even thought about doing this.
And there it is, from 5 years ago, as Leland Jones reported at the time. And now today, we have more peace meetings going on. This is from Warning His People 2 over here on Telegram. In September of 2020, as the world was shut down and the DNA-changing mRNA was getting ready to roll out through Operation War on the Seed, the Abraham Accords were first signed, led by Trump. And today, in September of 2025, Trump announces the expansion of the Abraham Accords to create peace in the Middle East, not just in Gaza, but throughout the whole Middle East for all of eternity, he says. So this could be one of the greatest days in the history of civilization, was another quote from these meetings today with Netanyahu and with the press. As Trump announced the Board of Peace that's going to rule over Gaza, he said that to ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, which will be headed not at my request, but by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States. Well, we know what the Bible says when they talk about peace and safety. And then we have this prophecy alert: the Antichrist Trump and Middle East peace. Trump announced that he's close to not only ending the war in Gaza, but about bringing peace to the entire Middle East. He said it was a big, beautiful day, potentially one of the greatest days ever in civilization. Everything is getting solved. It's called peace in the Middle East. And so I put those two up on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble for you guys to look at, these clips. So, wow. Now, more Trump news. Apparently, Trump wants us to believe that the unprecedented gathering of U.S. military commanders is for celebratory reasons, like a morale booster. Really? So you're going to gather hundreds of your top generals from brigadier general on up and all of your admirals and you, and you're going to put everybody into one spot where they could all be taken out in one fell swoop. Really? And you're just getting together for celebratory reasons. Baloney. BS. That's not the truth. But anyway, President Trump announced he will personally attend an extraordinary all-hands meeting of top U.S. military leaders at Marine Corps Base in Quantico, Virginia, Tuesday. This gathering, which brings together nearly every general and flag officer from around the globe, has sparked intrigue and speculation due to its scale and the absence of a detailed agenda in the initial summons. Trump, speaking on Sunday, framed the event as a morale-boosting celebration of the armed forces' accomplishments rather than a forum for policy overhauls. And so he said it was just a really nice meeting, very nice meeting, talking about how well we're doing militarily, talking about being in great shape, talking about a lot of good, positive things. It's just a message, the president said, emphasizing the upbeat nature of the assembly. Nonsense, I say. They say the logistics of the meeting are staggering. Indeed, it would be, requiring the convergence of hundreds of one-star and higher-ranking officers, along with their senior enlisted advisors, potentially totaling over 1,000 personnel when aides are factored in. Issued last week by War Secretary Pete Hegseth, the invitation provided no specific rationale, fueling rumors among defense circles. Sources suggest possible discussions could include Hegseth's aggressive push to reduce general officer corps by 20%, alongside trims to civilian and contractor positions, and adjustments to U.S. troop deployments in Europe and the Middle East. And so I guess I will leave the rest up to you guys to read, but they say the gathering raises serious questions about fiscal responsibility and necessity at a time when our service members deserve focus on readiness, not spectacle. I would agree with that statement. Some people say that it has to do with loyalty and pledging loyalty to Trump. I've heard lots of different rumors, but nonetheless, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen tomorrow. So we'll keep our eyes on that, like keep our eyes on everything else, right? And so, let's see what else I had here. Some wars and rumors of wars news, including this one from the Blazing Press on Telegram. Something is brewing with Iran. So gathering OSINT just from the past 48 hours have brought me to the conclusion that something's about to happen with Iran. Indeed, I've seen a lot of rumors and speculation about that starting over this past weekend. That's when it really started to pick up on Telegram anyway. In recent hours, Netanyahu has said that we know where Iran is hiding its enriched uranium and that this information is being shared with the United States. This proves what I've argued all along, the author says. The claim that the enriched uranium was destroyed in the American strikes on its nuclear facilities was simply not true. Of course it wasn't. Equally interesting is information now coming from Russian sources. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov has been speaking endlessly about Iran in recent hours. He claims that there's a real threat pointing to new attacks against Iran, and according to several well-informed sources, they're even in discussions within the framework of our operational plans. I remind you that President Trump is set to meet with his top generals on Tuesday. Everyone is wondering about the purpose of this meeting, and all my instincts point toward Iran. The Russian news agency TASS reported, citing a Russian source, that they are warning of another strike against Iran's nuclear program. And all of this comes after Russia declared it intends to invest $25 billion in building Iran nuclear facilities in Iran. One of the more striking reports this evening is that the Russian transport giant Antonov 124 carried a fresh shipment of Yak-130 fighter jets to Iran. In Tehran today, the Speaker of Iran's Shura Council announced that important decisions for the people were made in today's closed session of the Council on Sunday. I assume he was referring to Iran's withdrawal from the nuclear treaty. If we connect all the dots, it seems that a war over Iran's nuclear program is becoming a war against Russia and China as well, which greatly emboldens the Ayatollah's regime in Iran. It is important to understand that after the 12-day war, the Iranian regime changed the software. While the IRGC are not known for fixing their failures quickly, surprising them this time will be very difficult. And if I may speculate further, judging by the pace of attempts by Iranian intelligence to recruit collaborators from inside of Israel, it seems likely that this time they will try to spark some sort of event within Israel, whether political or security related, in hopes of deterring another strike on their soil. The next round is at their doorstep, and it will be far more complex than people realize. We must be very cautious with the Iranian regime, whose survival is more important to it than anything else. It is crucial to remember that despite the heavy blows they suffered from U.S. and Israeli strikes, a wounded animal is sometimes even more dangerous. That's from the Voice from the East over on X. And that was posted by Blazing Press on Telegram. And then we have this. More than 8 U.S. aerial tankers departed the U.S. towards Europe and most likely arriving in the U.K. The last time this happened was when Israel and the U.S. attacked Iran. So keep that in mind. Just as Trump and Netanyahu are standing there in the White House today talking about peace. But remember what the Bible says. When they talk about peace and safety, boom, sudden destruction happens. And then Denmark, we have this. Their Defense Department urgently called up soldiers from the reserve, and it's because of all the drone incidents they've had over their military bases and their airports. Then we have another bunch of tankers departing, heading east. The massive airlift continues from the mainland U.S. towards Europe, now also including the heavy lifters, C-5 Super Galaxy, which is used to transport bulky air defense systems and even projectiles, tanks, and everything else too. It's getting interesting by the hour. And then we talked about the unprecedented gathering of military soldiers. And of course, Trump and Bibi meeting again 5 years later, expanding the Abraham Accords. But at the same time, as they're preparing for war against Iran, at least it so appears. At least it appears that way. And I'll do my best to keep my eyes on all this, like I always do. And that'll be it for now. Don't forget that don'tspeaknews.com is home base for all that we do. I put a lot of stories here that we just can't report on anywhere else, including this one, which we can report on other places, but I just put this up here late yesterday. assessing reports that Ukraine is preparing a false flag drone provocation against NATO. So it's rumored now that, in this story anyway, that because Ukraine has captured some Russian drones and they were intact when they captured them, they brought them down with electronic warfare apparently, that they're going to arm these drones and then send them against NATO countries and blame the attack on Russia, aka a false flag drone attack against NATO. And then, since they're using Russian drones, everyone will blame it on Russia, and we can start World War III with them too. But like I said in that posting here from X, that appears that China and Russia are firmly behind Iran anyway. And so whether it starts in Iran or whether it starts with a false flag drone attack on NATO, well, remains to be seen, but it's going to start in spite of all their talking about peace today. Just remember what the Bible says. When they say peace and safety, sudden destruction. And that will be it for now. Like I said, don'tspeaknews.com, home base for all that we do. You just saw that little pop-up there. You can use that, type in your email, click on subscribe, and then you'll be notified every time there's a new posting here over on don'tspeaknews.com. Or you can click on the subscribe, contact Johnny tab, and you can type in your email here and click on subscribe. Either way. And then every time I put up a new post, you'll be notified. Then Don't Speak News at Proton Mail is how you contact me. And channel support, we're listener supported only. And we're at the end of the month, so we can definitely use your support. I want to thank everyone who has sent in support this month. Without you guys, we would not stick around. So thank you so much for your prayers and your support. And all the links to do that are right here underneath that tab. And once again, thank you so much for all of your support. Rumble, BitChute, and Telegram, everywhere to find us around the internet is right underneath this tab. Just click on that, and this is where you can find us around the interwebs. And that will be it for now. Prayed up and prepped up, guys. Head on the swivel. Time is short indeed. God bless, take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.